Hello, Aaron.
Hi, Gina. How's it going?
Imagine it's great. You know why?
Why?
Because it's officially hashtag Trick It Two time.
I love
Yes.
hashtag Trek It Two time. It's the best time of the day, I think.
Right. Move over tea time. We're all about two time.
Central time, that is, because for some people it's 3 o'clock their time.
That's right. So every weekday at 2 p.m. Central, we jump on hashtag Trek It Two, which takes you on a journey through the pages of Boy's life. And as promised, we are moving right along to the June 2020 issue today. We're going to do our
That's
first
so
look at the June 2020 issue.
that's so crazy because I checked my calendar and it says May 19th, and I'm so excited that we get to share. It's like time traveling. We get to share the June issue with all of our friends on Trek It Two today. It's very exciting.
That's right. I'm trying to pull up their comments right now. I can only see Scouting Magazine page at the moment for some reason. I know it's live on Boys Life, but it keeps showing me yesterday's Facebook Live. So I feel like I'm in the past. So luckily, here I have another entire device that I can use. I'm grabbing my laptop now. I'm working on a 3 device situation, and I also have another computer behind me. So,
Well, let me
and you
just
know
say, Gina,
why?
while you do that, do you know your Wi-Fi is splendid today?
Is it?
You look like you're in 4K or something. Yeah, I don't know
It's
what you're
because
doing
I'm
different,
on
but it's
my
amazing.
iPad. You
Is
know,
that what
I
it
think
is?
I'm beginning to blame you for the low Wi-Fi quality. I think it might be because when you join, the quality just goes down. Just like as a
I don't,
general.
I don't
Just
know
kidding, just
about
kidding,
that.
just kidding. Totally kidding.
It
So we've got
seems
some
kind
new
of harsh.
faces. I know, I'm kidding. Actually, no, these are old faithfuls. We've got Troop 567 from Plymouth, Minnesota on. We've got Xavier, of course. Hey, Xavier in Pack 118. We have Owen from Pack 884, our buddy. We have Killian here from Pack 36. I think that's a new one. We have
That might be
we
a
have
new name. Yeah.
Ariana, Holly, and Lori from Pack 9002.
All
This
right.
is very cool to have you guys on today. It's an exciting story we're reading. I think you guys are going to like it. I wish I had been on this trek. What now? Do we call this the cover story, Aaron?
This is the cover story of June, July 2020. I will hold it up real quick. I'm reading it on my iPad, as all of you can
Ah,
do. If you have the digital edition, which is free right now, you might be like, well, I don't have currently a subscription to Boys Life magazine. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. Just go get the app and you can read it for free. And we're going to read this June story right now. It says Saddle Up. And it is about a troop of Scouts BSA members who went on a weekend camping trip and a horseback ride. Gina, very exciting.
yes. The
A good
pictures are
time was had
awesome.
by all. The pictures are very good.
You
Yes.
will be jealous. Warning, trigger warning. You will be jealous. You will want to do this. You cannot probably do this right now. You will be able to do this eventually.
Jealousy will be forthcoming when we read
Yes.
this story. Now, Gina, do you know anything about horseback riding? Do you ride horses at all?
I loved horseback riding. I used to do it a lot. Now I do it a little.
Okay.
I know enough to say that the horses that these scouts rode are really good horses. You couldn't
Is that
trust
right?
just any horse to do these things. Oh,
Uh
totally.
huh. Yep.
So
Yep.
something I know about horses is that they are unlike, dogs and cats, horses are prey. Most
Uh
pets that we
huh.
have are predators by
They're
nature.
predators.
Not most,
Right.
but some.
Right.
At least
You don't
the
necessarily
common
think of
ones,
your
dogs and
fluffy kitten as a predator, but it's basically like a bobcat or a wildcat or whatever, right? It's used to
right.
catching mice and bunnies and things like that. Yeah. But a horse, you're saying, is different.
Yeah, it's prey. So that means, and it makes sense if you think about like zebras. Lions eat zebras. So
Mm-hmm.
horses are related to zebras.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, not, they didn't descend from zebras, but they both came off of the same little tiny horses that used to exist at some point. And so
Uh huh.
they are scary and they do what's called spook. So some horse, I don't want to totally spoil the story, but some horses, when they're exposed to environments that they don't see all the time, get a little scared. And I'll tell you,
Mm-hmm.
one time actually, I was camping and I had an inner tube. Like it wasn't like floating the river, but I just had an inner tube because there was some water, and I thought, I'm gonna bring this over and float. It's camping time, and there was actually an equestrian trail at this camp, like in this campgrounds, and so there were some horses walking by, and I like came with my big tube over my arm, and the guy had to be like, "Whoa, can you please hold that down while the horses pass? You're gonna scare them." So it was like my pool floaty was going to
Uh-huh.
terrify the horses, and you could actually see
Right.
them get nervous. So it
Right.
takes a good horse that's been exposed to a lot to be able to
Mm-hmm.
do everyday things, honestly.
That's interesting. I did not know that, Gina. Very
Yeah,
interesting. A lot of good knowledge there you're dropping. Very impressive.
it's amazing. What's up here?
Well,
Maybe
are
one
we
day,
ready to
Aaron, you'll
start?
know as much as I do.
I
I
doubt
am
it. I doubt it.
so I am so ready, but I did have one question for you. How in the
Yes.
heck are you able to access this if it hasn't come out in print yet?
Well, amazing that you should ask that, Gina. The June-July 2020 issue of Boys Life magazine is available on the app sooner than it would be if you wait till it gets in your mailbox. So folks will be getting their June-July issue in the mail probably in the next week or 10 days or so or something like that. But it is already on the Boys Life app, which I have right now, which you can all download for free right now on your Apple or your Android device and read like the last year's worth of issues for free, I think. So, including the June, July 2020 issue that most
I
people
think
haven't
you
even
can
seen
even
yet.
I think you can read more than a year right now, Aaron.
Oh, really?
I do.
Well, don't tell the boss that because if he finds
I
out, he
Yeah,
might
don't
take
tell
that
our
away.
boss. I
Yeah,
think there's a little bit
exactly.
more than a year of. Yeah.
He'll get grouchy if you tell him. Yeah. Well, if you
Right.
want to amuse your friends with like, if you want to predict, hey, I predict that the cover of this next month of Boy's Life's going to have a horse on the cover. They'll be like, how could you know that? And I just got a feeling. You could probably blow some people's minds there, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Aaron, I
So,
am super ready to hear this story.
so the headline of this story is not just horsing around, Gina, because they did more than just horseback ride. As you can see in some of the photos we're going to show here, these Scouts BSA members did a lot of camping, did a lot of work on the early requirements, the early rank requirements for star and second class and first class and things like that. And so they
Ooh.
had a lot of fun. They did a lot of cool stuff. This troop, the headline says,
Wow.
this troop fits plenty into one weekend, including a beachside horse ride. This story is written by our own Michael Freeman with photographs by, we actually had a couple of different photographers contribute to this. One is our own W. Garth Dowling, and the other is WD Photography. Hey, interesting, Gina. Speaking of spooking horses, they would not let us photograph the horses because the horse did not know our photographer. They had to use their own photographer to take pictures of the horses. Isn't that interesting? It's funny you
I
say
did
that.
not
That's
know
what
that.
they were concerned about our photographer. You know, someone the horses are not familiar with, giving them a little, spooking them a little bit. So we had to get photos of the horses from a different photographer that was familiar with them.
I guess also we didn't explain why it would matter if a horse gets spooked because we didn't draw the actual parallel that if you're on their back and they get scared, that's a far fall and a dangerous
That's
one
not
because a
fun.
horse weighs a lot. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's exactly right. So astride her horse, tenderfoot scout Ritika Putta, 13 years old, took a moment to enjoy the scenery as she rode along the beach. It had been a long, busy weekend at California's Half Moon Bay State Beach, just south of San Francisco, where she and her troop worked on orienteering skills, knots, knife and axe safety, native plant identification, first aid, and cooking. A 90-minute ride was a relaxing way to end an intense campout. There were some beautiful views while riding, and it was quiet out in the morning, Ritika says. It was a peaceful, calm ride that let me have some fresh air. I'm always kind of amazed, when we get these cool photographs and it finds out, oh, they're just outside of San Francisco. It looks, you think they're in the middle of nowhere. Nope, they're just outside of one of the
Well,
biggest
that
cities in the
happens in
state.
California. I think California and really New York have that going for them.
Right, right, right.
You think of them as
Uh,
city places, but there's a lot of country.
Exactly, yep. The weekend campout last year served primarily as a skills workshop for girls from Troop 220 out of Fremont, California. The majority of the troop is younger, so most scouts are focused on learning the necessary skills to earn the tenderfoot, second class, and first class ranks. But that didn't mean they couldn't schedule some horseback riding, an activity appropriate for scouts as young as Wolf. Horsemanship has been a scout skill since the BSA's inception more than 100 years ago. It was one of the original merit badges in the 1911 handbook, Gina, and equestrian knowledge was essential for other early badges like blacksmithing, make a horseshoe and know how to shoe a horse correctly, and first aid to animals. They had to be able to treat a horse for colic. That's the kind of stuff scouts learned back in 1911. At this campout, though, scouts were learning the basics. The troop booked with Seahorse Ranch, a guided horseback riding company located near the campgrounds. A company guide led the girls on a 1-mile ride. I loved the horses and it was beautiful on the beach, 11-year-old scout Megan Lovato says. The equestrian excursion capped off a campout designed to build leadership and confidence. Grabbing their handbooks, younger scouts looked to the older ones to show them how to tie lashings, use an axe safely, and administer first aid. The students this year will be the teachers next year, Scoutmaster Lee Emmons says. That makes proper instruction especially important. Each skill builds upon itself. If you don't grasp how to tie basic knots as a tenderfoot, you might have a tough time creating a camp gadget using lashings to earn the first class rank. My favorite part was watching the girls bond, grow, and advance as scouts, says Melody Few, 16, a first class scout and senior patrol leader. Some skills require plenty of practice to master. It's easy to untie lashings, but not tie them. I overcame these challenges by practicing the techniques over and over again and asking questions, says Athira Bijou, a 12-year-old tenderfoot scout. Now that I practice the techniques, I feel more confident and I'm not scared to make mistakes. You can grow as a leader and a friend through any scouting experience, even challenging ones. The first night, Troop 220 set up camp in a storm. Tents were battered by the wind all night and some flooded. The second night, patrols made monkey bread, chocolate lava cake, marble cake, and cheesecake during a Dutch oven dessert contest. We bonded as a patrol during cooking, 13-year-old tenderfoot scout Srihita Punman says. That helped us forget the hardships we faced. Remember, a scout is cheerful. When you have fun activities, good food, and scouting skills planned, it's easy to overcome a rough start to an outing.
I'm sorry, I just have to stop you. You couldn't
Yes.
have a bad time with that many cakes.
Yes, agreed
That's
100%.
a cake smorgasbord.
If I knew I had that many cakes waiting for me at the end of the day, I would pretty much do anything. I'd be fine with rain, thunderstorms, whatever, bugs.
Yes.
Be fine with
Yes.
that. Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because Felicia says, I learned that while things may not always go smoothly on trips, it is important to push through and just to have a good time. And that's Felicia Lim, a 16-year-old tenderfoot scout. Now, Troop 220 didn't settle for an outing just with basic scout skills. They added another activity, a horseback ride on the beach, to make the campout even more memorable. You can do the same, guys, on your unit's next trip. Look for fun opportunities near where you'll be. Is there a neat museum to stop by on your drive back home? Maybe there's a paddleboat company at the lake where you'll be camping. Try to fit extra activities into the original schedule and budget. If it's a late addition, consult with adult leaders and fellow scouts as soon as you can to see if making changes is possible. You can also plan fundraisers to cover any extra costs. Now, we're about to get to the horseback riding photos in just a second, Gina, but before we do that, as these photos roll, let's just talk about horseback riding with scouts in general. There are some rules with horseback riding. For example, wolf scouts, bear scouts, webelos scouts, and younger scouts can ride horses in controlled areas like this is right here. This was just a 1-mile ride. Older scouts, ages 14 or up, or ages 13 and older, if you've completed the 8th grade, can go on a true horse trek, which usually covers many miles over multiple nights and can be a physically demanding adventure. Now, many years ago, Gina, I went on a horse trek with some scouts out in California, and I was lucky enough to ride with them. It took us about 6 days. Every day during the day, we'd ride our horses for about 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours maybe, and it was like
Wow.
a backpacking trek, but you're on horses. So you're carrying all your stuff, and you stop at a campground at night, unpack, tie the horses up, set up your tent, stuff like that. And then in addition to that, we had to also take care of the horses. We had to feed them. We had to clean off their horseshoes. Don't you have to? I can't remember exactly, but we had to kind of, adjust the horseshoes and make sure they
Yeah.
were okay. We had to unsaddle them and things like that. If it rained, it did rain a lot. We had to, brush them and keep them clean and comfortable and things like that. It was
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
that's a lot of work.
It's
Not
a
to
lot of
mention
responsibility.
if you're riding for that long in a day, you walk like a cowboy. Your legs
Yes,
hurt on the inside.
I,
And you're
I
like,
absolutely did. I walked like that for about a week, even after I got home. One thing that was funny about that is you mentioned that horses are kind of scaredy cats. One thing I remember about that horse ride was we were riding through this forest and the horses were scared. They were every once in a while we would come across a beehive in the forest, and you could never really see it, but you could hear the bees buzzing. And what's funny is that the horses could always hear the bees before we could. So we could tell we were approaching a beehive when the horses started to get nervous and started to go real fast because they would start to run because they wanted to get away from us as fast as they can. And then a couple of seconds later, we would hear the bees buzzing. No one got
ugh.
stung. The horses, in that sense, they did us a favor because they got us through, away from the bees really quick. And they were not. It wasn't a dangerous situation where they tried to kick us off or anything like that. They were just
Right.
clearly a little nervous and clearly in the mood to get away.
A good
Um,
smart horse wants to take care, well, will take care of you, right? As long as it doesn't want to get you off its back, it's going to protect
right,
you from the same thing it's avoiding.
right, exactly.
Bees are a
Now,
pretty reasonable thing to be scared of.
yep, yep. So just so you know, one of the things that these girls on this trip learned, and one of the things that I also learned on my horseback riding trek, is that you should always wear sturdy boots with 1 inch heels when riding a horse. If stirrups are equipped with leather coverings, which are, do you know what the leather coverings on stirrups are called, Gina?
No.
I, I didn't know. Tapaderos. Probably
Wow.
tapadero is probably how you pronounce it. Um,
Very
if,
cool.
if if the stirrups are covered with those, that allows you to wear tennis shoes. So that's the kind of adjustment you can make on your stirrup that would allow you to wear tennis shoes. Most stirrups don't
So it
have
like
those.
goes around the front so your foot can't slide forward.
Exactly right. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why most of the times horseback riders will wear boots, cowboy boots, right, or certain kinds of hiking boots would
There's
be
a lot of
appropriate
boots,
also.
yeah.
If you don't have the coverings, you could get seriously hurt if your shoelaces or shoe tongues get caught in the stirrups. If you try to get off and your foot gets stuck, that would not be good as you were trying to unmount the
Right.
horse. You do not wear sandals. There's some horse right there. You don't wear sandals. You don't wear flip flops. Things like that would not be appropriate on a horseback trek. They do recommend that you wear gloves. You don't have to wear gloves, it's not required, but it is recommended that you wear gloves just because you're gripping that rope the whole time and it can protect your hands. Um, you also should wear long pants, as all these girls are doing. And also, Gino, the one thing that when I was a kid, we used to ride horses. We didn't have to wear helmets, but people have gotten a lot smarter now. And nowadays, you wear helmets on a horseback ride, just in case, like you say, the horse gets spooked or something like that. And very much like bike riding, you have to make sure the helmet fits properly. You got to make sure the chin straps are tight. It doesn't do any good to wear a helmet that's flopping all over the place, right? It's got to be secure on your head to keep
Right.
you safe. Now, this is
As a
only a
kid,
1 mile. No,
I
go
was just
ahead.
gonna quickly say, as a kid, I of course wore a helmet, still do. And whenever I would wear one at first, I was like, Mom, I don't want to wear a helmet. I want to wear a cowboy hat. So we tried really hard to find a cowboy hat that was big enough to go over a helmet. They don't exist.
No, I don't think
But
they
what
do
I want to
exist.
say is somebody out there should invent, and maybe it already exists now, but a helmet that looks like a cowboy hat.
Yeah, that's a great point. Surely someone has thought of that, right? If
There's
not,
probably some danger to it, but
well, I think what you have to do is you have to have an inner shell that's like a real helmet,
right.
and the cowboy hat is just an outer shell that covers it. So
Yes.
it probably would look pretty big and weird, but It would do the job, right?
I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
It's kind of like those bike helmets that you see now that have the big mohawk things on top. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
cool bike helmets like
Okay, I'm
that.
gonna look it up, and if we can find a picture, I'll send it to our director.
Okay, that sounds excellent. So this horseback trek here, to remind everyone, was only 1 mile. So you can see some of the girls are wearing gloves, some of the girls aren't. This is a relatively short horseback ride, so they didn't necessarily have to prepare the same way you would as if you were going on a true horse trek. But riding horses on a beach, Gina, an excellent way to end any camp out, I would say. One thing that we've noticed at Boys Life magazine, as we've started to encounter, thankfully, more and more Scouts BSA troops with girls, is that, look at that mud. More and more Scouts BSA troops with girls, they are really serious about getting their stuff done, about getting their advancement
Yes.
skills and things. And a lot of it is because when my son signed up for Boy Scouts, he was allowed to join when he was 10 or 11, but since we just started adding Scouts BSA troops with girls in the last year, a lot of girls joined. They were already 15 or 16. They didn't
Right.
have
They
any
don't have
choice.
time to
No.
waste.
They had no time to mess around. So we heard about a lot of campouts like this one where they spend the whole weekend checking stuff off the handbook, which is a lot of fun and really cool and a very productive weekend. And so it's really cool that these girls finish it off at the end with a nice, relaxing horseback ride, which is not one of the requirements, but just simply a lot of fun.
Right. So we have a lot of comments. I'm loving the conversations going on in the comments. They're not just commenting in, they're having conversations with themselves, and I love that.
Cool.
First off, Killian reminded us that he's been watching 7 other times. This is not his first trek at 2. I
Thank
think
you,
I remember
Killian.
that.
Thank
But we do
you.
have a
Thank you
few
for
new
watching.
people. And he said it's good to be here today.
Oh,
So
good.
thank you,
Good.
Killian.
We're
It's good
glad
to
to
have
have
you.
you here. Yes.
Ryan commented that he really wants a horse. Man, that's
Yes.
normal.
I know.
But I think you could have a chance to ride one if you
Yes.
maybe there's something local, or if you saved up or did a fundraiser for a trek with your unit. I know
Yep.
Philmont is got world class horse riding. Like, people
I've been-
outside of Scouts go there just to ride horses.
Right. I don't know where he lives, but I bet there's a good chance that the council where you live offers some sort of horseback program, something in one of their camps or something like that. So I would encourage, was it Ryan or whoever it was that says you want to go
Yeah.
horseback riding? Talk to your scoutmaster, talk to your senior patrol leader and say, hey, let's put together a horseback ride for our troop, because that is an encouraged authorized scout activity.
Yeah.
And you can work on your horsemanship merit badge. And I bet for sure the local council has some sort of horse
What
program.
if he lives in Tokyo, Aaron?
I'm not an expert on Tokyo. Is that where he lives?
No, I don't know. I was just trying to think of a city that probably didn't have horseback riding, but you make a good point. Councils are a lot larger and most of the time encompass not just a city, but probably
Right.
a camp area.
I bet outside of Tokyo there is a horseback program, some horseback
Actually,
riding
probably
program somewhere.
awesome.
Yep, exactly.
Xavier
Be sure and wear a
says
helmet
horses
though.
are fast. Yes. Speaking of, we might get. I found a cowboy hat helmet. We might get to show in a minute. I don't know. We may not get to. If we don't, we could show it tomorrow. It's different
right.
than you think.
Okay,
And it's
all right.
apparently pretty popular.
Okay.
Xavier says horses are fast, which is so correct. They can be also very slow. I
Right.
bet Aaron had that experience riding horses for 6 hours a day. At least by the end, they can be painfully lazy and slow.
Yes. One thing that I remember about that trek was really fun at the beginning. You got to sort of choose your horse. And they brought a bunch of them out and they asked you, like, what kind of horse you want. Do you want one that's like, real aggressive that you're going to have to like pull back on the reins all the time? Or do you want one that's kind of just slow and take it easy? And I can't remember. I think I got one that was pretty laid back and pretty chill. And I was constantly having to get him going because he was in no hurry at all, except for when we ran past the bees. But horses, I think, Gina, correct me if I'm wrong, they're just like people, right? They have different personalities. Some of them like to go, and some of them are fine, just kind of chilling out, doing whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
Look
okay.
at
So
that.
we've got a picture of the cowboy hat helmet. It surprises me. It's that, the helmet's more on the outside
Yes.
of the
So
hat. And I
that's
think
interesting.
that's cool.
Yep. I wonder if that helmet is certified by the ASTM SEI. I don't know
I
what that
don't
means,
know.
but it
I
has
do
to be
know it's a
certified.
resist. It's a resist all helmet, so that's a pretty legitimate brand. But I don't know. I
Okay.
am looking. It's
See if it says it's certified
ASTM
ASTM.
SEI.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. We're not saying to go get this and wear
Yeah,
it,
we're not endorsing it. We're
but
just saying it looks cool, and I agree.
yeah, something like that. I will
Right.
say though, my mom wore a helmet when she was biking. This is what I think of when I now think of helmets that aren't just the helmet or like that have even a face shield, which are they'll keep your head safe. That's what the point is. But I do know she
Yep.
fell off her bike and the little visor portion kind of cut her head.
Oh yeah.
But it was a bad bike wreck though, so it was like the helmet did its job, but sometimes those extra things that you don't need that are actually aren't the helmet
Right.
can hurt you in an actual crash
Right.
potentially.
Right. Sometimes it's
So
good just to be practical, and just
yeah,
get a practical safe helmet.
and that's what I learned. Like I didn't need my head to look 5 million times bigger just to
Well,
wear the cowboy hat on the outside.
and the
Right.
good thing about any kind of horseback riding activity is that you're not going to be on the horse literally the whole time. There's plenty of time if you have a cowboy hat. You can wear the cowboy hat during the orientation. You can wear the cowboy hat when you get off the horse. You can wear the cowboy hat when you're setting up your tent at night. So there's plenty of opportunities if you want to wear a cowboy hat
That
to
is
wear
so
it at all
true.
times.
And you may not even be into the cowboy hat. You may be more of an English rider. You like the helmet look.
Oh, is that what English
English
riders wear?
riders,
Helmets?
they wear helmets and they also have these cool covers for their helmets. So they've got it right. Like they're, like net mesh or like even like a book cover kind of material like
Okay,
that. I don't know what kind of
that's
material
cool.
that is.
That's
So
cool. Yeah.
Ryan agrees with Xavier that horses are amazingly fast. And yeah, I guess I wasn't even thinking about race horses, which are usually a
Right.
different kind of horse than what we're looking at.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that
Right.
is true. They go very fast.
They can run. They sure can. Yes.
Owen mentions the cake looks very good.
Yeah.
I
I
agree.
know. Dutch
I would
oven
love to have a cake.
desserts. It's a little bit changing topics, but Dutch oven desserts on a camp out, nothing beats it. And it sounds
I
like these ladies did it right. So
Yes. We told
I
you
would
you'd be jealous.
go.
I know that part of the point of the story was like, oh man, things were rough. They didn't go quite as planned, but I'd do it
Yeah, I would go on the camp
100%.
out just to get the dessert. I would go just
The
for
cake
that.
and the horses, yes.
Yep. Yep.
We've got nay comments. We've got horse emojis in the comments. We've got horses are the best. Um, oh yeah, I've been saying Ryan, but I mean Killian. He reminded us of that. He's in Northport, Tuscaloosa. Definitely got to be some good horseback riding around there.
There's got to be some in Tuscaloosa. Yep. Yep.
And he said, please, when you see Ryan's name, say Killian. Thank you for
Killian,
reminding us.
Gina.
You
Yes.
kind of have
We
to remind us,
apologize.
Killian. We forget.
Yes.
We're,
Sorry about that.
you know,
Sorry about that. Yeah.
sorry about that, buddy. Please correct us. Feel free.
Yes.
That's what we're here to
Absolutely.
do.
We love being
Especially
corrected.
live. Basically, anything you tell us, we have to do it live. So, Aaron, I had no idea you were such an experienced rider. Really, I mean, I know,
Yeah, that
understand you
was
don't do.
like that was a long time ago, but it was a lot of fun. It was one of the cooler Boy Scout trips I've been on. Yeah. So I wouldn't say
Well,
that I'm experienced, but it was
I
fun.
don't think that's something you forget how to do.
Right.
But
I feel like I could go back and do it. I would do it again. It was a lot of fun. I feel like it wouldn't be that hard. I had to learn different knots to tie for when you're like when you tie the horse up at night. We had to do a
yeah,
certain kind of knot. So I may have to refresh my memory on how to do all that stuff. But
I've never done that where you just tie a horse up at night and leave it. Now that's
we would
cool.
tie them
I
up to
need to
just
sign
like
up for.
trees and stuff. Yeah.
I need to sign up for a trek like that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever heard the phrase? It's like riding a bike, meaning
Yes, I
like you
have.
never forget.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Have you ever heard the phrase? It's like riding a horse.
I have. Don't think I have. No.
I haven't either.
We should make that a phrase though. I'm going to start saying that.
Have you
It's
ever
just
heard the
like riding a
phrase?
horse.
You got to get back on the horse.
Yes. Well, no, that is a phrase, right? If you fall off a horse, you got to
Yeah.
get back on, or
What is
something
that?
like
Yeah,
that,
you got
maybe.
to get back on
Yeah.
the horse.
Right.
Probably
Right.
means like you've got to confront your fears because
Yes.
they'll just blow up
Right.
in your head.
Yes. Right, right.
Owen mentions that when he went to the YMCA, they had horses that you could rent, and he did. Now
Hmm.
that's cool. That's very
While it
cool.
would be fun to own a horse, but you think about all the responsibility that goes along with that, it might be more practical just to rent a horse or to go on a group horseback ride where you take care of the horse for a few hours and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. That's probably the way I would do it.
It's very expensive too, but you know what's also very expensive, but you guys have your whole lives ahead of you. You could, save up to live a lifestyle you want, and you might be thinking like, I'm a city gal or boy and I love horses, but I'm never going to have one because I'm just not into the country. Well, you still could, because actually there's a lot of places where you can own your horse and keep it at somebody's place who takes care of it. They call boarding your
Right.
horse. And,
Right.
you could just pay them like a monthly fee basically to feed your horse. And then you can go
Right.
out there and ride it and live your city life.
I would do that. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Aaron, will you do that so we can have some horses to ride?
I
Well,
said I
I'm
would do
assuming
that.
you'll invite me.
I'm not saying I'm going to. I said I would, maybe, possibly.
I see. Yep. Yep. Very interesting. Well, I thought that this was a super cool story. I know
I
we have
hope
a lot of
everybody
other
enjoyed
very
this
cool stories in
exclusive
June
look at the
2020.
June issue. I know, yeah, the June 2020 issue. Very exciting.
And we'll be doing some more June 2020 issues to round out this week, or stories, no more issues, one issue, June, July.
Yep.
We'll
Yep.
share some of those. And then next week, we have something big coming up, right, Aaron?
We do indeed. I'm excited. Are we allowed to talk
Yeah,
about it though? I
next
know
week.
you always make me nervous because I'm not sure if we're allowed to talk about it or not. Are we allowed to
I
say
think
what it is?
we need to start talking about it. We need to start
Okay.
talking about it.
All right.
Ready on three. 1, 2, 3. Art.
Art O
Oh,
O Re.
re. Art.
Art
Art. Oh,
O
re.
Re. Not
Yeah.
artery. Art O Re. Yes.
Art.
It's
Oh,
all
re.
about art next
It's
week.
all about art.
And I
You want to
have
earn a.
I am a terrible, terrible drawer. I cannot draw things, but I still enjoy it. I enjoy trying to draw things. When my kids were super young and they were, drawing and to draw just to pass the time, I would draw with them, even though I was terrible at it. They were all better than me. So the art ore is fun. It's fun if you like to draw. It's fun if you want to work on the art merit badge. It's fun if you're a Cub Scout and you just like to draw. And it's also fun if you think you don't like to draw. We might change your mind about art and how much fun it can be. So I think it's going to be pretty much fun for everybody.
I totally agree. I'm not a good drawer at all. Artist in the sense
Yep.
of like fine. I don't know. No drawing, nothing like that.
Terrible. I'm
But
terrible. Yeah.
luckily, Aaron and I are not the ones who will be leading the demos next week. We'll just be there for the color commentary. Otherwise, we're going to have the real deals here live, answering your questions, showing you how to draw certain things. If you go to Brian on Scouting, you can find all the tools you'll want to have ahead of time. Draw along with them. If you're a Cub Scout or just a average Joe kid watching, you'll just have fun, draw along. If you're in Scouts BSA and you haven't earned the Art Merit Badge yet, you're going to have a chance to work on Requirement 4, which is pretty cool, I think. And we're even going to have an art teacher, somebody who gives art lessons on, we think, early in the week to answer some questions about some of the challenges you might face when you're taking on the Art Merit Badge. So it's going to be a very valuable
I'm
week.
excited. Yes, I'm very excited because, like you said, Gina, you and I are not the experts on art. So we have brought in people who are. We have a nice little lineup put together of people who have drawn, whose work has appeared in Boys Life magazine. These are professionals who are familiar with different mediums and who are way more talented than we are, thank goodness. And I'm
Yes.
looking forward to talking to them and asking them questions. And hopefully, our people watching from home will have questions and learn a few things about art.
They are the guys who, which they do all happen to be guys. They all draw all your favorite characters from Boys Life, right? But that's not all they do. That's just how we
Right,
know them. They're some of the
right.
best in the country. They illustrate for all kinds of children's books, their own books, graphic novels. I mean, lots of different brands. They're very cool.
Yes.
Very cool
It's very
bags.
exciting. We're lucky to have them in our back pocket to be able to pull out for events like this. So very exciting, very nice of them to help us out. And I think people will enjoy it.
Yeah. So that is next week, starting on Monday during the
What's
same
it called
time, 2
again?
p.m. Central. Art O Re. There is a URL at the bottom of your screen. It's go.boyslife.org/art. That's where you can find out everything you need to know for next week. Put it on your calendar. Share it with your unit. Share it with your siblings. Share it with your parents. Share it with your grandparents. They might be bored.
Yeah.
It'll be a great opportunity to do a little drawing.
And it's going to be at the same time as Trek It 2, right? 2 p.m. Central every day next week, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Not Trek It 2 next week. Art O Re next week.
Right.
Easy to remember.
I'm very excited.
Okay, well, otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow, Aaron. 2 p.m.
Sounds
Central?
good, Gina.
Does that work for you?
That works for me. Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be
Okay.
around.
I will
Thanks
too.
for watching,
See you guys.
everybody.